Welcome to Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula podcast. I'm your host, Gordon Des. In each episode, we dive deep into the mindset, the struggles, and the breakthroughs that shape a meaningful life. I'll be sharing the raw, unfiltered stories of my own journey, from my new inspirational memoir, and sitting down with special guests from my past and current life, and ones who've also faced their own turning points. This isn't just about success by theory. It's about building a life of purpose, resilience, and relentless forward motion. Because no matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, the formula is simple. Keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward. Let's get into it.
Hey, Gordon Des coming at you with another great episode, and I'm really excited today because my special guest is my mom, Angie. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mom.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so great to see you. I mean, I hardly ever see you, right?
Right, yes. Every day, twice a day, usually.
Yeah, for sure. So my mom lives in our suite. We have a suite at the back of our house, so it's really nice to have her close by. It's been great. My dad passed away back in July 2021, and we just didn't want her being by herself. We love you, Mom, and we're nice to have you close by.
Thank you.
So
you cry if you continue that.
Oh, you'll probably shed a few tears, I'm sure. So my mom, let me tell you a little history about my mom. Obviously, we've spent our whole life together. Well, my whole life together anyway. And you look great, by the way, Mom. Tell everybody how old you are.
Well, I'm going to tell you the same way the little kids used to say, I'm almost 6. Well, I'm almost 90. I'll be 90.
Yeah, you look fantastic, and I'm so proud of you because, you know, everything that you have going for you, your mind is top-notch, you still golf, you bake, you do everything, and just great to see you thriving the way you are. So, yeah, congrats to that, and I look forward to your 90th birthday party in March. It's going to be great, won't it?
I hope so. I hope I make it till...
Oh, you'll probably make it to 100.
I'm not counting on that, but we never know.
I have no doubt about that. You just got to put that in your mind. So that reminds me of the story of George Burns. So George Burns, when he was alive, he always said, I'm going to live to 100. And you know, George Burns, I mean, he smoked cigars like crazy. That was his sort of image that he had, always had a big cigar. And he always said, and he believed it with every fiber of his being, that he was going to live to 100. And what happened? He lived to 100. You may want to comment on this and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going by memory. I believe he lived about 2 weeks after his 100th birthday. And I really believe in the power of suggestion and the power of the mind. So what I want you to do, Mom, is believe that with every fiber of your being that you will live to 100, and I'll be here cheering you on the sidelines, okay?
Only if I'm really healthy. I don't want to be a vegetable.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you for sure. So we have a lot to talk about. And I love having you on the show. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have you back again, because otherwise this podcast session today is going to be like an hour and a half or 2 hours. And we want to try and keep it down. So what I think we'll do today is we'll focus on my early life. And when we have you back, we'll maybe go to midlife and then later life, if you're okay with that.
Sure, that's fine. I'm here.
Great. Sounds good. So you read the book, obviously, right? Keep Moving Forward.
Yes, I read it the day you gave it to me. Actually, it took me 2 days.
Yeah, almost 500 pages. So I was even impressed that you got it done in 2 days. It was great. And I remember when you came in, I think it was after the first day of reading, you came in crying and you're like, oh, I'm sorry that your life was so bad. And what did I say to you? I said, you know, it's not your fault because I never came to you about all this stuff. You were busy enough. Tell us about how busy your life was when I was little.
Well, it was really hard when you were little because my husband at the time was a drywaller and he is working. So when you were little, I was going to help him. So I went to work with him some days and I would take you along with your coloring books and your toys and stuff like that. And he would hang the drywall and I would go behind and nail it. It was funny because all the guys were like, what the hell is she doing here with it? A nail apron on and stuff like that. But it's something that, you know, it made his job easier because all of this was done. And so it made a little bit more money. So that was like okay, I had 3 kids in school. I had you and I tagged you along to do all these little things that I did. So I always had a hectic life, always busy doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are talking about, for the people that have not read my book yet, we are talking about my biological father. Hey, listeners, if you haven't checked out my YouTube videos of the Keep Moving Forward on location videos, please make sure you check out that playlist. It's called Keep Moving Forward at Chef Des on YouTube. And one of the videos I've done, I know you've seen all these videos, Mom, but one of the videos I did was when we lived in Brookswood, and something happened that prompted our move from our house in Brookswood to a co-op townhouse in downtown Langley.
Yes, well, things have not been going very well in my life with your dad. I was sexually abused. I didn't know any better. I was a stupid farm girl that went to town and took a course and got a job in the city. Never lived in the city before or had any idea what city was living like. And I met him, and I had no idea about a lot of things. And so our marriage was not doing very well. We had been 15 years into our marriage and 4 kids later and stuff like that. So when we lived in that new house that we had in Brookswood, one night he didn't come home. And so the next day when he came home, the house was empty. I had decided that that was the end of it. If he's not going to come home at night, he's spending the night with some lady friend that he must have met. So I just went out that morning. I rented a townhouse in Langley, and I kept Clayton home for school because he was 13 at the time. I rented a trailer because I had a trailer hitch on my car, and we moved. He came home. The house was empty. He had a single bed, a small table, a chair, and some dishes and stuff like that. So it had to be quite a shock to the system. I would have loved to see his face, but I'd guts on those days. I'm not putting up with this. And we did try and get back together later, but it did not work out either. So it just was not to be. So prior to that, I had gone to see the doctor and complaining, that I wasn't well and stuff like that because I wasn't happy. And so he sent me to a psychologist. And when I went to psychologist, I was like, okay, my husband does this. He treats me like this. He does this. And I bet you I wasn't in his office 5 minutes when he said to me, oh, wait, hold it. And I said, what's wrong? He said, you let him. Those words have stuck with me for the rest of my life. You let him. And that changed me, my life, the whole thing.
It's funny that you say you had guts back then. For as long as I can remember, you've had guts, right? So now I would have been like 5 or 6 years old at that point. You have obviously been an inspiration in my life the whole time, and you've always had guts, Mom. You still have guts to this day. When something needs to be done, you just do it. That's something that really shapes my work ethic and how I approach everything that I do. So I thank you for that, Mom, for sure. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that he turned out to be the guy he is, but hey, that's life, right? Things have to go on, and you got to look out for yourself and your kids, and that's exactly what you did. The other thing as well, like going back to the story where, I didn't approach you with sort of all my problems and stuff that I had in life, is that and you were busy. You were busy enough. I mean, for the most part, even when, you got married a second time to Dawn, you were busy enough. You have 4 kids, raising a household, working full time, and making sure that everybody's doing well. It's not just about me. If I was an only child, maybe it'd be a different story. But, you had a lot going on, right?
Yeah, I did. And I also worked at the newspaper that he ran at the time, too. So I was working full-time at the bank. I was a full-time mom, sort of. So I had counted a lot on you kids to take care of yourself a lot at that time.
Yeah, you had to, right?
Yeah.
That's life. And that's the other thing as well that I want to remind my listeners of. Whatever your upbringing is, and maybe you had a fantastic upbringing, maybe you had one that wasn't so great, maybe you had one in the middle, mediocre, whatever. I think it's really important to make sure that we're not judging people, make sure that we're not holding grudges against your parents about your upbringing, because unless you've lived a life in their shoes, you have no position to judge anybody. And that's something that I've really stuck with in my life. I'm not in any position whatsoever to say anything about the lives of not only my mom, but of anybody else. So many times people judge. And there was that saying by Walt Whitman. It goes something like, be curious instead of judgmental. Instead of just quick to judge somebody, be curious, ask questions. Oh, I see you're doing this. Why are you doing this? And then you can learn a little bit more about people's lives instead of just being quick to judge and quick to criticize and quick to say something behind somebody's back. I don't think that's the right way in life. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. You do what you have to do and move on.
Yeah.
And I had 4 children. I didn't have a job at the time. I moved that day. I went the next day to the bank because I used to work there years ago.
Yeah.
Applied for the job. They hired me and we were on our way.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, our time in that townhouse was, fairly short-lived. We were there for 3 years. I was there for grades 1, 2, and 3 at Langley Central before Langley Central burned down to an arsonist. But then with the marriage of Don, my second dad, is how I always remember him, my second dad. A lot of people just have one dad. I happen to have 3. We'll talk about my last and most important one in a future podcast. But, that was a good move. And it gave us the financial stability to be able to buy a house. And that's when we moved to Grade Crescent, 20091 Grade Crescent. And that's the home that I really cherish as my childhood home. And there's a video on my YouTube channel that shows a picture of that home. But if you're watching the podcast video now, I'll share it here as well. And that house there was, lots of great memories in that house. When we first moved there, I was so excited because I got to be close to my best friend who happened to move. We were in the same school in grade 3. And then he announced that he was moving to a different area and going to a different school for grade 4. And I was just panicked. This was my only sort of rock in my childhood friendships to sort of keep my life in check, sort of thing. And he was going. So I was so thankful that you guys were able to find that house and I was able to follow him to the next school. That house, I want to just go back a little bit because a lot of people get stuck in current life and they think, times are so hard and stuff like that. Tell me about that time at Grade Crescent when you guys faced really extreme mortgage rates, and share with us what those rates were and what that situation was like.
Well, I think when we bought the house, we were paying like 5% interest or something on our mortgage. Mm-hmm. And then something happened to the economy and our mortgage came up for renewal and we were hit with an 18% rate for our mortgage,
Wow.
which was devastating. We didn't make that much money, but at the time the government had a program that you could apply for assistance to have the mortgage rates reduced. So we did that and we managed to stick it out and continued to live in that house until things didn't work out for Dawn and myself.
Yeah, wow, 18%. Like, I can't even imagine. And we were thankful with the economy when we got into this house, but right now we're locked in at 1.75. I can't even comprehend what 18% interest would look like. Wow, I mean, that must have been a blow for so many people.
It was. The only people that really took advantage of it were the people that had money, and they locked in term deposits and stuff at 18% for 5 years. I worked at the bank and I saw many of these and they got rich on this. But for the poor person that didn't have money, it was devastating.
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine a lot of people just had to walk away from their houses and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were able to manage to keep the house, which was a blessing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Now, one of the things that happened, I relay this story in a book. I was really surprised that you weren't furious with me. So I had my own bedroom at one point. When we first moved in there, obviously I shared a bedroom with my older brother, Clayton. You mentioned him earlier. And when I had my own bedroom, there was these nice hardwood floors all the way throughout the house. And I happened to drill a hole in the floor of my bedroom so I could run a phone line up from the rec room below me in through my room so I could have my own rotary dial phone sitting on my built-in desk in my bedroom. When I did it, I didn't even ask permission. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I just took a drill to the floor. I mean, I could have been drilling through electrical wires and got electrocuted. I could have gone through plumbing and have our basement flooded, anything. I didn't even think about any of that. I was just a stupid kid. Ran it up, and I remember telling you, hey, look what I did. You're like, oh, that's cool. And you were just so easygoing about it. It's like, at the time, I didn't expect anything different, but looking back on it now as an adult, it's like, wow. I mean, if my kid would have done that now, I would have been furious. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is the solid hardwood floor, but you were just happy that I was happy.
Well, I was like, things like that really don't bother me too much. I could go with the flow. Is it that important? Not really.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've talked to the owners of that house today, And they confirmed that hole is still there to this day in that hardwood floor. So it's kind of funny. I left my mark on that house.
Yeah, no, I mean, things like that really never really upset me because I don't know, it's just kid stuff. And is it worth a fight? Not really.
All right.
In the end, you're happy, so I'm happy.
Right. Yeah. That was great. Looking back on that, it was so good. We're going to get a little deep here, Mom, so I apologize in advance if you get a little bit sensitive about this. Just to explain, listeners, my mom is a very sensitive person, and she wears her heart on her sleeve, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today, even though your personality is like this, and I know sometimes it's tough to talk about stuff like this, but other than that time with my biological dad, I want you to share a time when you faced adversity and how you overcame it by just, by just pushing through, by keep moving forward.
Well, there was many times like that. Well, after I split with your dad, of course, I had to get a job. So that was a big thing. I needed an income now. And the thing is he did not want to support you guys. He was so mad at me that he was not going to give me any support money. So at one point I thought, well, I'm going to go to the welfare. I should be able to get some help. I have a salary, but I have 4 kids. Right. So I did apply for welfare, and I went to the welfare office. And basically she said to me, well, you have a son that's 13 years old. He could get a job. I said, well, no, he has to take care of the other kids after school till I get home from work. She said, no, that's not how it works. He has to get a job, even if it's just a paper route, and we will supply somebody. We'll get you a sitter to come and take care of the kids after school. And I was so upset that I just said, forget it. I will manage on my own. So I had to pull up my socks and say, okay, we're going to make it on our own. We didn't have fancy meals and stuff. We probably ate a lot of mac and cheese and Wieners, but we made it.
We did.
And we carried through.
Yeah.
We did. And the big thing with me at the time is I had 4 kids. So it was very important every day to sit down at the dinner table and have dinner together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I cherish those times. And you made it happen. I mean, let's be honest, you made it happen. Something that I am always grateful for. But hey, listeners, if you are involved with government or you have a direct connection with government, you need to listen to stories like this. You know what? I get it. That was a long time ago. But even recently, I was subject with government bureaucracy when I tried to collect EI to help me out through a period of time when I was with Harley Davidson and sales just weren't there. And I tried to make it. I was there for 9 months working as a salesperson, commission only, and draining my savings account to help bridge the gap. The income just wasn't coming in. So I had to leave because I was just in a negative situation. I'm self-employed right now, and I was prior to Harley Davidson. But years ago, I worked for 23 years as an employee, and I paid into the EI program, the employment insurance program. And all I wanted to do was the government to help me out. And it is just so laden with policies and stuff they can't bend on. And it's ridiculous when you hear of my mom's story like this. And the story that I have is that they weren't going to help me. They actually offered to help me because I needed to get a knee replacement, which I have done now. I'm 4 weeks in. But because of all the years of standing and cooking, it led to me needing this, and I couldn't continue with my self-employment business in a cooking position because of my knee. And so they actually offered me to give me medical support, which is like EI, but for a medical reason, so I could get my knee replaced and I could get my business back going. But she said she had to do a little bit more investigation. She called me back the next day, and she said, literally, the very first question I have for you is, if we were to do this for you and get your knee replaced, would you be going back to your self-employment or would you be getting a job somewhere? And I said, well, no, I want to build up my self-employment again. And I had financial statements that I could prove that I made a substantial amount year after year by being self-employed. I just wanted to get my business up to that. And she said, okay, you don't qualify then. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's because I am employed. That's what she said. You are employed in self-employment, so this is for unemployed people. And I'm like, but I'm not making any money yet. I can prove it to you with my bank accounts, my personal, my business bank accounts, my financial statements that I'm not making money. And she said, it doesn't matter, you're employed. So the whole thing is ludicrous. And every single person that I tell that story to, it just does not make sense. So just to give you the backstory in that, I've actually filed a rebuttal with them and explained it completely. And in the meantime, I've just had to, I was going to say lie, cheat, and steal to survive, but that's not really the case of any of those. I didn't lie or cheat or steal, but I had to beg for money almost, because practically what it felt like, in order for me to survive. So I could continue, get my knee replaced, which I did 4 weeks ago, and build my self-employment back up, which I'm working on right now. So it's just crazy. Anyway, a little bit of a digression there. I apologize for that.
But on that topic, I was really upset with the government too at that time, because my next door neighbor was an employed lady with 2 children that was receiving welfare on a regular basis, but she was living with a fellow that had a job. He had a truck. He had absolutely everything. He had a good job in construction, and she could get her welfare, but I couldn't get it from them, and it just seemed so unfair.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we got to look at things. Not everything is black and white. Not everything is just by the book policy. We need to really look at things like that. And whether it's government or not, I mean, there was a time just recently, happened last week, actually. I'm working with a technology platform. I won't say the company's name because it's not really fair at this point, but I was really frustrated with the performance of their platform, and it wasn't working for me. I ran into so many problems. And so all I asked through their group chat on their website was, I want to know if I can get a phone call so I can really explain in depth the problems I'm having with your platform. And the reply I got was, I'm sorry, we don't have any phone support. And I'm like, this is crazy. You are a human being sitting on the other end, typing that into the message. You don't have a phone sitting on your desk. You don't have a cell phone that you could pick up and call me. Like, to have companies want to thrive in this world and want to be better than the other companies, you need to provide customer service support. What a ludicrous thing to say. And I actually wrote a letter to the CEO of the company because I was so frustrated. And guess what happened? Hey, they provided me phone support. Imagine that. I actually had 2 people on a live video chat so they could hear my concerns and we could walk through it. So if you're with a company and you're employed, take it to the next level. Take a step away from bureaucracy within your company or what's written in black and white. Make a difference in your company. I'm sure you'll be rewarded for that. And the other thing as well is be a human being, for crying out loud. Like, realize when someone wants to say something and take your time to hear them out. So many times, people don't listen enough, and we need to do that for sure. Another big question I'm going to throw at you, Bum. What do you think your purpose in life is? So everyone here, we're living a life. I'm not going to get into, reincarnation or religion or anything else, but obviously we are all here as human beings right now, and we're living this life that we have been given, or whatever beliefs anybody has. I really believe that there's a purpose for every single person on this earth in this lifetime. What do you think yours is, Mom?
Well, I have no idea when you come to me with a question like that. I live life, and as far as being a purpose, maybe my way of treating people, I'm very giving. And I have children that I'm so proud of because they've been all successful. I have 10 grandchildren. 2 are step, but we don't use the word step in our family. They're our children. They're all successful. They all have jobs. They all work. And I have now also 7 great-grandchildren. And I'm just so happy to be a role model for these kids because they look up to me for guidance, maybe, but more for fun. Let's have some fun. Let's do something that's fun to do. And I know I'm getting all teary-eyed, but that's the way I am.
You are.
We've always played games. We've always done stuff. I've never had a time when I couldn't say that I didn't sit down with my kids or grandkids and make time to have fun. And we still do that to this day. And I'm so thankful.
Yeah, your legacy that you've created. And a lot of people sort of don't give that the attention that it needs. So what I'm talking about is, way back when you decided to have children. And some people think, okay, well, that's a decision you make in life. But when you really look at the big picture, you decided to have children. You ended up having 4 children. And we're talking biological children for now. And then they all grow up and they play a part in society and they create a life of their own. And then they have children. And then those children have children. And all because of your decision that you're going to have a family. And the legacy that you have created is just amazing. And I thank you for that, Mom. And I think people really need to acknowledge that And they really need to celebrate that every single day. Don't wait until someone is gone and have a celebration of life. Celebrate it now, folks. Now is the time to celebrate it. And it's funny, you could see this in society all the time. You hear of a celebrity, for example, let's say a music artist passing away, and then sales of their records go through the roof and everybody's buying it. You'd be better off buying those records when that artist is still alive so they can benefit from it and know how much you care about their music. But as human nature, I guess, and we just, hey, now that something's gone, we want it even more. But you need reminders like this to celebrate the people in your life now, when they're here and now in your life, not later, not after. I mean, you can celebrate them after as well, but make sure you do it today, folks.
I never did have grandparents because my parents immigrated from Germany and they're the only ones that ever came to Canada. So I always wanted to make sure that my children and grandchildren knew who their mother was, who their grandmother was. And I have made a point of spending lots of time with them and doing stuff with them so that they
Absolutely.
would know that
Yeah,
I
you'll read in the
cared.
book that my earliest memory that I have of my whole life was in our Delta house. That's the first house I remember. It was even before Brookswood. And I remember you bundling me up. It snowed the night before, and it was a lot of snow out there. And I was so excited to get out there. And your priority was to get me bundled up and go out there with me to build a snowman. And somewhere we still have a picture of that, of the snowman that we created that day. And that was just you to get down at kid level. Any worries or cares in the world, you just put them aside and you made sure that I was happy.
Well, that's funny because a couple of years ago when we had snow here, Gianna, my youngest granddaughter, and I went out and
Yeah,
built a
exactly.
snowman.
Still at
So,
in your 80s, you're still doing the same thing. So yeah, it's great, and
yeah.
you got such a young heart, and I appreciate that a lot. Not only for myself, but for my kids as well. So one last thing I want to ask you before we say goodbye is if you could offer a piece of advice to my listeners on how to be resilient, how to not let things affect you, and how to just be strong in any situation. What would that be?
Well, the first thing is you have to like yourself and believe in yourself. And my big theory was I was always helping someone else. I would love to give to people. When I worked, I wouldn't ask my staff to do anything for me that I wouldn't do myself. And if they needed help, I was always there to pitch in. So you have to just pull up your socks and say, okay, I have to do this. And do it. Don't procrastinate, whatever. And you'll find out that as you do it day after day or week after week, it becomes easier. And eventually it can become fun. You can work fun into stuff like that. And it's very rewarding because you have accomplished something that you didn't think that you
Right,
could.
absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the word procrastination. Don't procrastinate. We all do it. I mean, it's human nature. And if you really look at the root of procrastination, we always put off, as human beings, we gravitate towards pleasure and we don't like pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. No one likes pain, but we all love pleasure. And chances are, if you're procrastinating, if you're putting something off, there's pain somewhere associated with that, something you don't like to do. And you're going to be successful and more successful if you go through with it and you don't put it off, but yet we as human beings, we tend to put things off. So my advice to people like that, and I'm sure my mom feels the exact same way, is try and find the joy in that task that you're putting off. First, when that feeling of procrastination hits and you think, oh, I'll do this tomorrow, oh, I'll do this some other time, recognize it and then realize, okay, obviously I'm procrastinating. Think about why you're procrastinating, find the pain, and try and eliminate that pain by finding the joy in that same task. There's always good and bad in everything. Bad wouldn't exist without good, and good wouldn't exist without bad. So there's always something good to look for. And we just need that reminder sometimes to look for the good in things. And if you can focus on that and it become a little bit more pleasurable, chances are you won't put it off, you won't procrastinate, and you'll become more successful in life.
And that's just changing how you think.
For sure. Yeah, we talked about this in a different episode of my podcast about perception, right? It's all in how you look at things, right?
Yeah, that's what you have to do. Like if you procrastinate, the idea is you have to face
that's
it
right.
eventually. And when you do, it takes longer. It's terrible. It's not fun anymore. And you look at it like, okay, why did I do this? And it's just because I didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
But suck it up and do it, and you'll be so happy
absolutely.
that you've done
And
it.
also on that note, when you have done something great and you have put yourself out there and made those efforts to do that thing that you were going to procrastinate on, and you feel accomplished, celebrate that moment. Really take that in and try and remember how that feels to have that sense of accomplishment that you did and that great feeling that goes along with it. Because a lot of times, we feel it and we just let it go. But the more you can remember that will, again, help you with not having as much procrastination in life and leading to a more successful life, whether it's personal or business. This has been great, Mom. I appreciate that. We're going to have you on again, and we'll talk more about my middle life, and then we'll have you on another time down the road and later in life that we'll talk about. But this has been really fantastic, and this brings us to an end of this episode, and I just want to take a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to my mom for joining us today. Your insight, your story, and your energy have been truly inspiring, Mom. And it's conversations like this, people, that remind us why we do what we do, to connect, to grow, and to light the way for others. So thank you again, Mom, for sharing your time. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry I've had tears, but
that's just who you are. We know we appreciate that very much. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for being a part of this journey. And if today's episode moved you, inspired you, or even just made you think a little bit deeper, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula podcast. If today's conversation moved you, imagine what over 480 pages of truth, resilience, and real-life strategies could do. My brand new memoir, Keep Moving Forward, the Success Formula, is part story, part survival guide, and it's written for you. Grab your copy today on Amazon or wherever you buy your books, and let's keep walking this journey together. I'm Gordon Des. Thanks for listening. Thanks for believing, and as always, keep moving forward. See you on the next episode.